everyone, and welcome to this episode of Between Friends. I'm excited to be with you guys as always, and share with you my love of embroidery. And today we have a really fun topic that we're going to be talking about, so I can't wait to share that with you. I am filling in for Eileen today, sharing this a new product that we have that we're going to be talking about today that can help you create some really cool specialty techniques with your embroidery machines. So if you haven't already, tell us over there in the chat where you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you. I see lots of our friends already piping in and saying hi. So give me a shout out over there. And so let's just give a few minutes to allow more and more people to join in case someone's running just a smidge late. And then let's say hi to some of our friends that are here today. And so Kat C, thanks for joining. She says she was waiting to learn from Texas. She's been waiting before we went live. So thanks for being here, Kat. Sheila Bennett says, wish I was more creative. Maybe this will help. Well, let me tell you, Sheila, sometimes it just takes some inspiration. And so I do think you'll see some things that'll make you want to get started, but really creativity is something that we all should try, and it's no harm in doing it. And if you mess up, then you just try again, or if it's creative, there's no messing up. So it's a beautiful happening when we're creative. So Dorothy from Bay City, Michigan, thank you for being here, Dorothy. Cindy Clark, thank you so much for joining from South Dakota. So good to see you here as well. Laura Parks, always good to see you too. Laura says, hi everyone from Lincoln, Nebraska. I have this software. I'm excited to learn more about it from Ashley. Thank you so much, Laura. I think everybody's going to be excited with some of the things that they get to see today. Linda Johnson, thank you so much for being here from Dallas, Texas. Mickey Smith, good afternoon to you too, Mickey. And also Creative Appliques, that is Dawn Chase from Creative Appliques. Thanks for being here. And Stormy, Virginia. Oh, I think she was sweltering, Virginia, a few days ago. So thanks for being here. Laurie Albright from Illinois. You guys know Laurie. She's part of our education team here. So glad to see familiar faces. So Gail, thank you so much for being here as well from Michigan. Mary Ann, also glad to have you here too. And I know Mary Ann has lots of our dime programs as well. Caroline Booth, she says Soggy, South Texas. Thank you for being here as well. Looking forward to this program. So yeah, raining, hot. But we've got Ring Wilcoxon from Embroidery Garden. She says it's nice and cool in Indiana. So we're jealous. For sure. So Monica Sigrid, thanks for being here. Fargo, North Dakota. I bet it's a little cooler where she is as well. Kathy Purdy, thank you for being here. So lots of familiar names. Ann Philback, thank you for joining. Annette Yeager, thanks for being here. Annette is actually part of our dime team as well. So we got tons of people here. So excited. Joanne Banco from Let's Go Sew, thanks for being here with us, Joanne. And also Anna Sidewell, thanks for being here, and lots of others. So if I missed you, I'm reading your names. Thank you so much for being here. I love seeing all these familiar names and new names as well. And so appreciate you being here. Esther Hopland, good to see you as well. So, okay, so today's topic, let's see what we're going to be talking about. You guys are going to love this. It is a very fun topic that we'll be sharing. So I'm going to be talking about ways that you can incorporate specialty techniques into your embroidery. So we have a new program that allows us to do this easily, and I'm going to show you that. But I'm also going to show you the technique of how you actually accomplish these specialty stitches, in case you maybe have a design that you've purchased and you've wondered, how in the world am I going to do that? I haven't done it before and not sure how to get started. So we're going to be sharing all of these techniques. And again, the ones that require any specialty, we're going to share those details with you as well. So I'm going to head under my camera and I'm going to show you lots of things. So while I'm showing, do me a big favor. Let me know over in the chat which is your favorite. I love hearing from everybody which techniques that they like. And so I've got these little samples here, and I think these were perfect to show you because they have the name of the technique with an example. And so we're going to be seeing all of these today, so you'll know what I'm referring to when we're talking about this. So the first one is chenille. When I say chenille, I am talking about making a faux chenille fabric. So chenille fabric, you may have used it before, and it is a fabric that has, this is real cotton chenille fabric here. It's got these channels and it's very fuzzy and soft. Okay, so we can make a faux version of this by layering up our cotton fabric or either flannel fabric and then stitching channels and then making it fray. We cut them open and then it makes this faux chenille fabric. And we've put it in this case in this cute little bear as kind of an applique and then this letter here. But we're going to be making faux chenille. We're going to see how to do that as well. But that's a really fun technique. I'm going to share with you how to place your fabric. I'm going to share with you different uses of different types of fabrics, your cottons versus your flannels and the different looks that you get. And just, you know, the overall basics of doing chenille. So we also are going to talk about a new stitch that we have that is called varsity. And the reason we call this stitch varsity, I'm trying to really get close here to the camera so that you can kind of see the texture in that stitching. This is a fill stitch, but it has a very unique texture, and that texture kind of mimics the varsity letters that you might have seen in the past on Letterman jackets, maybe your cheerleader sweater from years ago, but it's a textured stitch that makes a really cool effect for sure. So, and it not only looks good on these varsity letters, but in other instances where you just want to add some texture as well. So, and then these three on the end, this is actually the same stitch, but it's just using variegated thread. Because the stitch is really random, it really stitches beautifully in variegated thread. I absolutely love it. So we're going to be seeing this. This is a fill stitch that we are calling varsity that has that specialty texture on it. And then 3D foam. Have you guys ever stitched with three-dimensional foam under your satin stitches? So whenever I'm referring to this, this is a foam that you place down under your stitches. So this is what our packaging looks like. 3D embroidery foam. And this foam is a 3 millimeters thick. And you actually stitch your design over top of it. Now with foam, you need to use a satin stitch so that the foam actually fills the space or the column in those channel stitches. So you can see there's a satin stitch on my glasses, and we've got that satin stitch on our text there too. And the foam underneath it gives it a lift. So let me roll this over here and see if you can tell that it is lifted off of the, or not off of, but it's elevated against the fabric. So that is foam. That's something that's been around for quite some time, and we've integrated an easy way that you can turn not just text but designs into a three-dimensional foam. It does require specific digitizing, so we've kind of done it in the program that we're going to talk about today. And then the next thing is mylar. So mylar, you may be familiar with that, but look at my fish there. My fish is kind of has a sparkly look to it. That is not metallic thread. It is what we call mylar, and actually that's the registered name. And so you use these opalescent sheets underneath your embroidery to give it a shine. And the key is that your mylar design, to stitch over top of this film, you need to have a design that has an open density. And you don't want a lot of stitches running underneath your open density that you will see. And then that shimmer really shines through. So, and I also have it in my text there. So the mylar text, you can see its shimmer, and then you can see my fish has that shimmer to it as well. So isn't that cool? I love Mylar designs too. Very fun. Now this one right here is one of my absolute favorites. And it's so simple. You know, sometimes it's the most simple things in life that are your favorites. So this is a plaid fill. We can select a shape or either a text and fill it with plaid embroidery. And in the plaid, you can have multicolor plaid like you see here. You can have it be narrower or thicker. You can have it straight, kind of square or on the diagonal. And you can add it to a design element and really just kind of add just a variety to your design. So I love this. And the one thing I do love about plaid is it stitches really quickly. And so it is a really fast design, but also it's lower stitch count. So it's really good for, you know, some of those items like knits that we really don't want a lot of stitches on in the first place. So, and then fringe. Have you guys done fringe? So fringe is a technique. It's a special type of stitch that has an anchoring stitch somewhere on the element that's going to hold it so that when we cut our threads, it's going to fray, but it's not going to pull out. Okay. So fringe, we usually either cut our bobbin or our top thread, and we're going to see all of those examples of what would do differently. How do we get straight edge fringe versus this loop style fringe? We're going to see that as well. And so I just love that. It really adds dimension and texture, you know, to your design for, you know, just a little nice little element there. So, and now this is something that has, you may have seen different designers creating text that's gradient text. And we can do that gradient text with our ombre feature. The ombre feature blends two colors together and really gives it a subtle effect of changing. And you can see here that I've applied a different color to each letter. So this letter fades from pink to purple, and then the purple starts here and fades into the blue into the green into the yellow, and then the yellow into the red there. And so, and actually it's purple for the end. It just looks red. But this ombre feature allows you to create designs like this, but you can also add it as just an element where it's just a little touch of color change. So like a sunset, fall leaves, they're really great for doing this. And this is actually colors of thread that are blended together. So in this text here, I've got two colors of thread in each letter. So pink and blue, the blue are pink and purple, purple and blue and the green and the yellow, so forth. So it's blending two colors together to get this gradient effect in either your text or in the body of a design as well. So, and all of those extra threads that's a special effect. You know, when you're an embroiderer or sewer, you've got little pieces of threads everywhere. So, and then take a look at this example. So, this is a technique we call prism, where you can take a solid area and make it change colors with just the click of an option. So my little snow cone here, this was a solid color for the cone and for the little paper cup that holds it. And I use this prism feature to break it up so that I'd have multiple colors in my fill stitch in each one of those. And I even applied it to the run stitch border that's around. So you can see my run stitch actually changes color around the edge there. And then also in the satin text here. So this feature, you can bring any design that you really want to make it be multiple colors, rainbow, you know, whatever you prefer, and you can apply it to you. And I'm going to show each of these to you. And then, like I said, we're also going to see if any of them need specialty tools or things like that to stitch them out. I'm going to show that as well. This one here doesn't need anything special. It's really just changing your thread colors once you apply them. So you don't need any special instructions to stitch this out, or even the ombre that we saw before. And then embossing. So if you have ever done embossing, you know that it is a design that has a fill area that's kind of a loosely dense fill area, but it flattens out the nap of a fabric so that what's in the actual design itself. And like in this case, our butterfly, but then in this case, our word emboss. It's hard to read it with that big furry texture here, but it flattens out the nap. And so you get a puffed up look in the area of the design. So in this case, the text, and in that case of our butterfly. So that's what embossing is all about. So we're going to see how to create each of these in our software. And then I'm also going to share with you any special instructions for stitching each of these out. So, okay, so I am looking to see if anybody has said what their favorite is. I see Dawn Tennyson says she loves the plaid. And so I definitely agree. One of my absolute favorites for sure. So, and Dorothy says, I have worked with Mylar. So, yep, good. And so then we're going to go into more detail. So I think you'll get some more information on it. And then I made myself a chenille glass case, Esther Hopland said. So, and that's actually a great idea because the chenille is very soft. And so it makes a really plush texture so that you can put it against something that really needs some love, like your glasses that you don't want to get scratched at all. So I definitely, that's actually a really good example too, for sure. So, so I was just looking down here to see if anybody else, so Regina said she loved the plaid also, and I definitely agree. I love it. It's so simple and so easy to do, and it just is really, really fun. So, okay, so now, and then I see some, I love the ombre. Joyce said she loves the ombre, and then Sharon says she loves the fringe. So I think we have like a little bit of everybody chiming in. So Travel with Kathy says she loves the ombre too, and then Catherine Kershaw, the mylar, and then this is true, right? Connie Rule says I love them all. Absolutely. So, okay, let's talk about how I created these designs, and then we'll talk about each of the techniques. So Dime has a brand new program called Special FX. I'm going to start a new page here. So Dime has tons of different software, and this program is specifically designed to create those specialty techniques that I just showed you all in just a click or two. And so let's see how it works and how you can create those. But again, this is Embroidery Special FX is the name of the program. It's for adding special effects to your embroidery. So let's start with something simple, and I'm just going to choose this heart shape, because it will apply to pretty much any one of these techniques. And so I just want to go down the line here and show you how to use that in each one of these. Okay, so these icons here on the toolbar are all of those specialty techniques. So if I want this heart to be that blended ombre look, I just click this icon and look what it does. And now it's blending two colors. It's taking the blue and the red, but if I can change that if I want. So I just click on another color chip. Now that looks like a sunset to me. And that right there looks like pink lemonade. So I really love that. So it's blending two colors together. And you can change the direction so that, like, if you are making something like a sunset where you want that to blend, let me go back to my sunset color there, and you can change that direction so that you can have it blend up so that you kind of get that gradient effect. So, and that's really the ombre. This doesn't require anything special to stitch other than two colors of thread. And we're going to see this in some other examples as well. So if I use my slow redraw, which is Dime Stitch Simulator, you can see that it's going to stitch the orange, but look at the lower half of my heart where it's a looser density. That's because the yellow is going to come and fill in down there, and the yellow will be a lighter density toward the top. It is blending those two threads together to give you that ombre look that we see here. Now, you can apply this to text like you see in this example here. So I'm just going to take this off of my screen. We just applied it to the heart, but Dime does have built-in true type font option. So you select, click on the screen, and then just add your text. I'm just going to say ombre since that's what we're working with here. And then I'm going to apply that. And then let's just make it really larger so we can really see the blend. And then I'm going to click to turn that into the ombre option. And you can see that it's blending the pink and the purple, which is my color number 1 and number 2. I'm going to zoom in more. And to have a gradient type text where it's blending one color into the next, all I do is just color chip number 1 for the first one, color chip number 2 for the second one, for the third one, for the fourth one. What it's doing is it blends the color chip that you choose. It blends that chip with the one to the immediate right. So that is what's creating this. So when I choose this chip, it's blending pink to purple. And then when I choose the purple chip, it's blending purple to pink. So I can do this with not just this one text, but you guys know your true type text is a long list of font options that live on your computer, and you can use those to create your own text and turn them into this gradient look. And so, and then you can see there, that's actually kind of small, so it doesn't show up as well. So I'm going to undo and then resize my text much larger so that we can really see that fill. And that looks much better there. And so you can really kind of see that blend. When it's really small, it will still work. It will still stitch. You don't have to worry about that. But you're not going to notice that blending as much. So, and then you can just change your colors to whatever you want them to be. So isn't that cool? I just love that. So you can use your entire true type text list to create these fun little fonts like we see here. So, and you can apply that to shapes as well. You can even apply it to some of the built-in designs. So if I choose one of the built-in designs, so let's take a look at something that might be a cute gradient option. So these built-in designs are for you to play with, to edit, you know, use in any way that you want to. And so I'm going to choose this, let's do this bobbin. So that's a good one. And it'll also lead me over into my Mylar option. So here's my bobbin. So if I just want to apply it here to this fill stitch, I'm going to filter by complex fill. So I'm going to say none, and I only want to show options that are complex fill, and click OK. And now I can apply that a gradient to any of these. So that ombre effect, I'm just going to do it to the thread, and I'm going to click then my ombre fill there. And maybe we want our thread to be a green gold color. Maybe we want it to be like, I just love that. That just reminds me of lemonade, right? So I really love that one. So I'm going to leave it. And then while we're right here, Mylar, this would be a really good example for Mylar. So the metal part of our bobbin, if I select both of those, I just click one time on the Mylar icon, and now this is a Mylar and ombre embroidery design. So I'm going to click on my filter and turn everything back on just by saying OK. And then now you can see I've got my star and my thread tail there. My thread tail, I think I'm going to make that pink so that it looks like it's coming off of that side. But isn't that cute? So let's watch this stitch out on the slow redraw. So we've got our love text, which is blending these colors together. And then the Mylar, it is going to give you a placement stitch. And then you can place down a sheet of Mylar, and it will stitch through those through your Mylar, and then it's going to blend your two threads together, and then Mylar for the top as well. So, and I saw I had one little rogue green stitch, which is just an outline, and I would go over here to my sequence view and just change that to match my pink or my yellow color there. So that was that green thread. I'm just going to make that the same color so that it matches as it should. So how cool is that, right? So that is the ombre and the Mylar option for doing those two examples. So tell me over in the chat what you think about that. And so if you have never stitched Mylar, let me head over here to my presentation here, and I've got an example of stitching Mylar. right here. So let's take a look at this. So if you've never done Mylar, it's really simple to do. I'm going to show you on this little anchor design. So you get a placement stitch, which lets you know where to put your Mylar film. And I usually just hold it. It's actually kind of clingy, so it'll kind of stay in place once it gets started stitching. But you certainly can tape it. Just don't use any spray adhesive because the spray adhesive will prevent it from being so shiny. It'll kind of look dull. So isn't that cool? So really easy to do. And then it just finishes up with that final stitch there. And then in this one, I was just using tearaway stabilizer. So I'm going to rip that out. And then we've got our finished design. Now, Mylar is another design type that is kind of a lower stitch count that stitches beautifully on a variety of different items. So what do you think? Isn't that cool? And so that film, that opalescent film, we do have that on our website. It's our Mylar film, and it comes in a pack of 15 sheets, and you're only going to use a small piece each time. So, okay, so let's see if we have any questions before we go on to the next option that we can do. So, and then Tracina Marshall Griffin, she says, what software is this? It's called Special FX. It sounds like Special FX. And so Special FX embroidery software, you would install it on your computer. And then what I'm showing you today, you'd be able to do those things that you want. So, and Dorothy said she loves it. Yes, I totally agree with you for sure. It's a definitely fun technique. So I was just looking down to see if we have any other questions here. So Vicky Turek says, what level do you need for this software to achieve all of these looks? So you only need the Special FX software. That program will do everything that I'm talking about today. In the samples that you saw, Vicky, I didn't use any other dime software. I only used features from the Special FX. So everything that you saw, you could create with that one program. So isn't that awesome? So really, really special program for sure. So, and then Carolyn says she's looking forward to learning more about these types, and then especially the chenille, and that's definitely coming up as well. So, and then Kathy says, can you blend more than two colors together? No, in that setting you cannot. It blends those two colors together in one. In our Perfect Embroidery Pro, you can blend more than two colors together, Kathy, and I think if I remember correctly, you do have that one, so you certainly can do that as well. So, and then Laura Park says, much easier than hand digitizing ombre, which I did years ago. Absolutely. So, and that is one thing we do like to try to make things as easy as possible to give you that one-click option and to make it easier for you to accomplish what you're working on. So then Barbara Porter, she says, what program am I working on? She got here late. No worries, Barbara. You can also rewatch if you missed anything in the beginning, Barbara, but we are showing the Embroidery Special FX program. So that installs on your computer so that you can create these specialty effects just with a few clicks. You don't have to be a digitizer. It's all set up to kind of do the work for you. And so that's what we're working with today. And then Tracina said the same thing. So what's that program? So Special FX is what we're working with. And then Barbara says, love the ombre. I definitely agree. So, and it's super easy. Like, who would have imagined just changing those colors to give you such a cool look, right? And then Joyce Leary says, so the Mylar fill, it's not dense. Is that correct? That is correct. So if you try to put Mylar under a regular fill embroidery design, you won't see the sparkle. So Mylar is open. It's a loosely dense fill stitch so that you can see that sparkle peeking through. So yeah, really good question. And Angel says, I don't have dime software. Can I purchase only the Special FX? Yes, you can. Will this work on its own? Yes, it will. It is a standalone program. You do not need any other dime software for it to work. And everything I'm showing you today, every sample that you will see, I used features from that program only. I didn't mix and match because I knew that this would be something that would come up. And so we just answered that on the density of the Mylar. And so I have Special FX, and it's so much fun. So thank you, Patricia, for your support. So we appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying it. And then what stabilizer did you use for the sample? So Catherine, I'm not sure which one you're referring to on what stabilizer, but I will tell you that these specialty techniques do not require special stabilizer. You will choose the stabilizer based on what you're stitching it on. Always choose your stabilizer almost all the time. I shouldn't say always. Almost all the time. Choose your stabilizer based on the fabric that you are stitching the design on, regardless of what the design is. So, and then would you apply Mylar to garments? Absolutely. You can wash and dry Mylar. You just cannot launder Mylar. So, or no, I'm sorry. You can wash and dry Mylar. You cannot dry clean Mylar. So, which I don't really dry clean that much. So yeah, you can put it on pretty much anything that you have. So, and then Carol Assman says, do you have to install the tool shed first? When you install the Special FX, it is installing the tool shed, and then you will activate the Special FX software. So really good question. So, okay, so let's go over and let's see the chenille. I think that's another good one that we can work on next. And so, and then we'll put a couple together since the plaid doesn't require you to do anything special. We'll maybe combine some techniques. So, but let's do basic again. Let's start with our heart again. I love the heart. It's a shape we all recognize, and you can apply these things that I'm showing you to any shape. And look at all these shapes that we have built in. So we've got all these categories of animals, home items, holidays. You select any of these, you can apply that to, and you saw that you can also change the designs that are built in or apply them to text. So, okay, so in this case here for the heart, let's do, chenille. It's super easy. You just click this option and answer these questions. So chenille, you do need these lines that we're going to cut to form our channels. So you can have a wavy line or a straight line. I'm just going to do the straight one to start with. And then the spacing. The spacing is particular to how you're going to cut it, really. And so if you've got a chenille cutter, follow the packaging recommendations for the size of the channels. And I'm going to leave that as is, and I'll tell you more about that. I'm going to put it on a 45, and then the outline, I like it to be a run stitch because chenille is raggy just in its, in its own definition. So I really like the edge to just be a run. And then all I do is click OK, and look, it did the work for me. And so now I'm ready to go to my embroidery machine. If you have a Brother or a Baby Lock wireless capable machine, you can send it direct. If you don't, you can save this to any format for any embroidery machine. We have a format that will work with any embroidery machine that's out there. Choose your format, save it, take it to your embroidery machine via USB stick or however you transfer. But let's watch this stitch out. So when you're doing chenille, you'll see that you get a placement stitch first, and then we're going to put down a piece of base fabric, and then it's going to tack that down, and then it's going to stitch our channels. Okay, and then after that, it's going to do a finishing stitch around the edge. It's just going to maintain the shape of our heart. Okay, so that's as easy as it is to create chenille. And you can apply this also to the built-in designs if you want. So let's look for something that might be cute and really anything could be chenille. So it doesn't have to be something that's really meant to be furry. It doesn't, it could be food even. Like we could have a chenille apple. It's really entirely up to you. Now notice in some of these examples, look at this apple already has plaid. This apple already has foam, which we're going to be talking about, but you can still change that technique type. So our beat here is actually plaid and mylar. So if I ungroup that, I can select the mylar area here and then just turn that into chenille. So we can have a fuzzy beat if we need to. So you can change the designs that are built in. You can also apply it to true type text. I would definitely make sure that you're using a really chunky font when you're applying chenille to to letters. Otherwise, your lines are going to be so close together that you don't see it. So, and in this case, let's just choose a wave, and I'll do a different direction. And there you go. Okay, so it seriously is that simple. Okay, so now let's say instead of the chenille on our letter, we really would rather it be plaid. So I'm going to do my undo key. It's always best to start with the original artwork or the original design, because some of these techniques add multiple types of stitches. And so if you just keep clicking to change it, it's going to kind of make a mess. It'll add a bunch of different run stitches because some of them need a placement line, some of them don't, that kind of thing. So, okay, to turn something into plaid, I'm just going to choose the type of stitch I run around the outside. For this one, I'm going to do a steel stitch around the edge, and look at that. I've got my plaid design just like that. And it doesn't have to be a letter. It can be our shape. If we go back to our heart shape and apply plaid. And then this is just asking you what kind of stitch do you want on the outside. So that's entirely up to you. It's just a personal preference. But let me show you some other changes here in the plaid. So with the plaid, you have the ability to change the direction. So I'm going to select just the plaid, and over here my properties, I can have it be diagonal, which is my favorite. But I also have two options for diamond, which just make it a little sharper, angle of the stitching, just like that. You can change the density of the stitching. You can see that it's slightly an open density, which I really love. And you can also change the width of these stitches. So let me make this much smaller so you can have these skinny little ones. You can also make it closer together, so I can put those, let's do like 4 millimeters so we can kind of see it move a little bit. Okay, so you can change the size of your plaid rows. You can have multicolor plaid, and here you can see I've got red and blue, similar to the ombre. It takes on the second color, so if you click on one color, then the second color in the plaid is the color chip right next to it. So right here it's this teal and purple. So if I wanted it to be change the purple to maybe a green, I would just click on that chip, change it. Now I've got blue and green plaid. Okay, and so you can also change this diagonal. Let me increase this back so you can kind of see what this does here. So the diagonal option here, I'm going to uncheck it and apply, is actually the stitches being diagonal. So let me loosen these up a little bit so you can see what I mean. And so you can see those stitches are basically running just horizontal, but I can do diagonal and my stitches will be running at more of a diagonal, and then I can also add a border around it. So isn't that fun? I love that. And then you can also apply that to the built-in designs too. So we already have a plaid apple, but if you wanted maybe this cherry to be plaid, you could bring in the cherry, and then I would do the same thing. I'm going to get rid of my heart here, and I would filter for the complex fill, and that's what you can change to plaid. And then it shows only things that are complex fill, and I'm going to then select that and click my plaid option there. And now I've got a plaid cherry. Now I could change this or make it mylar, but you can see that when I remove it, it's a hole so it doesn't stitch on top. So what I might do with kind of that reflection is maybe change that to mylar. And then if I hit my fill and turn everything back on, then look at that. Isn't that cute? Oh my gosh, there's just so many things that you can do. I mean, I wish that we could do all of them. So, but since we've seen chenille, let me show you how chenille is going to work under my camera. And even if you have a chenille design that you purchased, then this is actually the technique that you would use to stitch that design. So let me clear some of my extra things out of the way here. And here is my example with my step outs. And let me grab my fabric here. And so to stitch chenille, remember all these extra threads. You're going to find them everywhere with Special FX. It's a free Special FX. Is that all those threads? And so with chenille, you'll get a placement stitch, and then you're going to put down one piece of fabric. okay? And then it's going to stitch the tack down. And then you're going to put 3 different layers before it stitches this. So you can do 4 if you want, but I really love the 3 layers seems to be my sweet spot. So I do 3 extra layers, and then it stitches the channels. And then you're going to cut these channels open with your chenille cutter. Now you just slide the toe of this or the guide in between those channels, and then you just cut until all of your rows have been sliced open. The chenille cutter actually comes with several different guides. And each of these guides have a different size toe, if you will, on the bottom so that it fits in your channel. So these are replaceable on your cutter most often, no matter which kind you have. And you'll set the width of your channels in the software based on your guide. And it tells you on here what size that is. And the packaging will tell you what size channel it recommends, because this is specifically what this tool is for cutting open your chenille. And then once you've cut it open, I usually put a piece of water-soluble stabilizer over top of this before I go back to the machine. And that's just so as my foot stitches, it doesn't flip over my channels or fold my fabric back. So then when I get to this point, it's nice smooth edges. So when you put it back on, it'll stitch the placement or the tack down stitch or around the edge there. And then you're going to cut away the excess like an applique and then just fray it. I usually use my fray brush and then I can just scrub this and it makes like really fuzzy chenille. You can also launder it if you want, and it will make that fray also. But that's the premise of chenille. Now, some different people out there that do digitizing, some of them will skip this and you won't have this base fabric. You don't have to put down base fabric. That's up to you. Some people skip this last outline and just trim the excess away and leave it all raw edge. That's perfectly fine too. And in this software and with your design, you can do however you like. So now let me give you another tip on chenille. Okay, it's very important to put your fabric the right direction, okay? So believe it or not, so your bias is your least fraying part of your fabric, and that's actually what we want to stitch along. You want your stitches to follow the bias of your fabric. If you don't know which way is biased, stretch it. It's the stretchiest part of your fabric. The cross grain and the lengthwise grain don't have much stretch, but your bias is quite stretchy even on your cotton fabric, okay? So my lines represent the direction of my bias, and so no matter which directions your design is going to stitch, make sure your fabric is rotated to match that, okay? So if you're stitching diagonal lines like these bottom 4, you can just place your square of fabric down on with your bias going along that diagonal. But if you want these directions in your stitching, just make sure you rotate your fabric. So in this case, I'm going to make sure my bias is following my lines of my fabric, and the same thing here. And really I already am, because the bias runs both directions, okay? So you want to stitch along the bias. If you stitch on the grain or the cross grain, it's going to fray excessively, and it's just going to like really your fabric's just going to pull out. You're going to be left with almost nothing because your threads will come completely out. Now you can use cotton. I use cotton a lot because I have more cotton than any other type of fabric, but man, the flannel looks really nice. So, and it is even softer, I feel like. So this is 3 layers of flannel that are all one color. This is 3 layers of flannel and the base fabric that are multiple colors, and you can see how you kind of see that changing. But look at in my channel there. That's where you see that base fabric. If you don't put that down, you would just see all the way to the white, which depending on your project, you might like. And so here I've got 3 different colors of green just in the quilting cotton, and here I did a print. So you can really use a variety of different types of fabric. It's entirely up to you. A lot of people will tell you to use fabric that's dyed so that it looks the same on both sides. I will tell you, you get the most vibrant color. When you use fabric that's printed, you'll see some of the back, which is normally a lighter version or a muted version of your front, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Just do, you know, whatever you like, whichever you like best. So That's really entirely up to you. And now that we've seen a chenille, let me back up here. I'm kind of out of order on my my slides here. So this is chenille stitching. So this is that little teddy bear that I did. And so you stitch that placement line and you place down that one piece of fabric, and then you're going to do a placement stitch and a tack down. Or I'm sorry, placement stitch, then put your fabric and then your tack down. And then you're going to put your 3 layers and then stitch through this. This little patchwork fabric, I just loved. I really wanted to use it even though it's printed. And I was, I was thoroughly pleased with it. I think that it was a really good choice. So, and then it stitches all the channels, and then you'll take it off of the embroidery machine and then use your chenille cutter. Now, I like to use the chenille cutter. To me, it makes the best, fastest, easiest cut, but certainly you could use your scissors here if you needed to. So don't feel like you had to, but certainly this makes quick work of the job. And then you just keep going until all your channels are cut. And I'm pushing against all those layers. I'm folding it back to get kind of something to press against there. And it's cutting through those 6 layers like butter, right? And then you're going to put that stabilizer on top, and then I usually just tape it in place. And then at the machine, you're going to stitch that last stitch that just like makes the shape of your bear. And then you'll take that off of the machine, and you're ready to trim away the excess after it stitches. Now, this bear does have detail on its face, so if you're stitching anything over top of your chenille, I definitely recommend leaving like a water-soluble stabilizer on there. But you can see his little eyes, his little ears, and his nose. I stitched through water-soluble stabilizer because I've cut up my fabric underneath, and it needs, a nice surface to stitch again, and that just rips away, and then anything that doesn't, will wash away. But and then I just trimmed away like an applique. You're going to cut away the excess just like you would an applique. You might need to do a couple of layers at one time and then come back and do the others, and then just trim away all the way around the excess there. So, and that little patchwork is so cute. So that patchwork fabric, I see Linda asked about that patchwork fabric. I honestly, it was in my stash. I don't remember where I got it from, but didn't it just make the cutest little bear? So, and then I roughed him up with my fray brush. I tried to be really gentle over the stitches of his eyes and his ears there. And then you're definitely going to want to get a lint roller because it is a lot of lint after doing that. So, but really cute, right? What do you guys think? Isn't that awesome? So let me see if there are any other questions on that before we go to some other specialty techniques. And then Sandra says the chenille and the fringe are her favorite. And so the fringe, I'm going to show you that coming up next because that is definitely one of mine too. And I'll show you some tips on cutting it. So can you set your own color chip profile? Yes, you can, Cindy. That's a good question. And so at the bottom, whenever you set your color chips, get them all like you like. And then over to the far right, there's a little option that says save as default for your color palette. And Cindy, I know you're on our Facebook group, so if you can't figure it out, ask over there. I'll jump over there and check on you. And then she said, can you work on designs you bring in? Yes, to an extent. So when you bring in designs that you purchase, they may not have those complex fill areas labeled as complex fill. So our software remembers because they were created in that fabric or in that software. And so if you've got an area that's a complex fill, it may not all show up, but you could always create an outline around it and then delete it and then put that special effects in that outline. And so that's a really good question, and that's more of an advanced kind of thing there for doing that technique. And so anybody that is not already over on our Facebook user group, join over there because I can always give you more details on exactly how to do something in any of our dime software. And our educators are over there and thousands of users that know it and use it often and can also help you. So, and then are the shapes all different in other software modules? Yes, most every one of our softwares, we have different shapes. Some of them are similar, but each one usually has some different. If you have a shape in one program that you want to use in Special FX, you can use them together. So you certainly can do that as well. So Okay, I didn't see any other questions there. So let's head back over to the software. And now let's do the Fringe coming up next. So now Fringe, there's lots of things you can do with Fringe. First, let's go in here and let's just grab a design, because Fringe, I really love doing just small elements. Now this design here, if I click back on my design here. So this design here actually already has foam in the leaves. So the leaves I did foam, and I've got that to show you how that works. And then I'm going to ungroup it. And instead of these little berries here, I just wanted to add fringe. So I deleted the berries. And then in the Fringe tool, we have all kinds of fringe elements that you can select, and then just click on the screen anywhere. So I'm just going to click right here, and it drops that little flower, and that's a fringe flower. If I go back, I'm going to put one of these pom-poms here, and I'll put that right there. And then let's go back and grab another one. So maybe one of these fans, and I didn't get it perfect, so I can just rotate it. And now instead of those berries, I have made a fringe design with all those different fringe elements there. And I actually have that stitched out. I'll show you. So Fringe, you can add any of these built-in elements to a design that you have on the screen, and you certainly can bring in designs that you already own and add those elements to. But we also have another option for Fringe. So let me show you this. So I'm going to go back to that trusty old heart because I think it just shows really well. So we also have Fringe Shape, which means that you can apply fringe to a shape like you see on my screen. So Fringe Stroke, I'm going to put a negative number here, and then it's going to let me choose my shape, and you can see that it puts these little fringe elements following along my heart shape. Okay, and so that is the Fringe Stroke option. I'm going to do an undo. Remember, that's my biggest tip. Go to undo and go back to your artwork if you want to change to a different one. And let's do Fringe Fill. I'm also going to do a negative number here so I get a little bit of an overlap. And for this one, let's do this little pom-pom. And now my entire heart, I'm going to do a lighter color so you can kind of see it, is fringe. Now, fringe stitches out like regular embroidery, and then we're going to cut it. So each of these, you're just going to let your machine run. They're long satin stitches, and you can see that it's building in on that design. Okay, and so let's do an undo again. And let's see the other two options there. You can also do a fringe row option, and then the fringe rows, I'm going to put this to about a 0.3 and then leave them as horizontal. It fills the shape with fringe rows, and each one of these would be cut to fringe to give yourself a little dimension to your design. And then let's go back in and see that last one. And then I've got fringe still. And for this one, when we say still, that's a satin column stitch that goes around the outside. And I'm going to make this about a 0.5 because it's going to fringe on the left and the right of it. So I want it kind of wide because it's actually going to tack it down in the middle. And you can see that stitch that's in the middle, that's holding my fringe so that I can fringe it on the inside of my heart and on the outside. Let me make it maybe a lighter color. Would show a little bit better. So let's do this light green. So I think that shows really well. And again, this is a satin stitch, and it's got this anchoring stitch that's going to hold it all together. Okay, so I'm going to do an undo, and I'm going to show you with fringe. Let's talk about that varsity fill. So to get that varsity fill, all I have to do is click one time, and then this varsity fill is that type of stitching that I mentioned, kind of mimics those varsity letters like that looped chenille. And if we watch it stitch out, you can see that it does a fill stitch, and then it comes over and does this random stitch over top. Okay, and again, I can apply these this to also built-in designs. And so if I go to the animals here, one of my favorites is this little llama here, and I'm going to do a filter and complex fill. And click OK, and it leaves everything that's a complex fill that I can apply this to. And I'm going to select just the white part and add that option to. And then let me change it to kind of a little bit different color so you can really see. So isn't that cool? It adds a real, kind of like a texture, like the fur, like loopy fur, like a poodle's, kind of curly hair, kind of look to it. And then I just click my filter and put that right back on. So isn't that cool? Okay, so now let's head over and see Fringe and under my camera, and then we'll answer some questions there before we get done. So I'm going to head over, and then I've got an example here to show you. There's two different ways that you can cut fringe. You can cut and get loop fringe like you see here, and you can also get the straight edge fringe like you see here. And it really depends on the look that you're going for. Is really entirely up to you. You can do either one. To accomplish the straight edge fringe, you're going to cut your colored thread. So if I just slide my scissors under and I snip that blue thread, you can see I've got that kind of straight edge. Let me angle it. Maybe that, there we go. And so you can kind of see that straight edge there. If you like this loopy fringe, you want to cut the bobbin on the back. So if I snip just my white bobbin and I head over here to the front and rake that up, then I've got that loopy fringe, okay? And either one is fine. It just depends on the look you're going for. Now, me personally, I love the loopy fringe, but sometimes it's the straight fringe that I want. So, and here's our examples of those hearts that we created. And so you can see here that the rows are fringe rows. This is the steel, and we filled it with that pom-pom and then that little shape around the edge. But fringe can be applied like you see here, just to small little elements. I just made these little pom-poms. And then that's my Mylar megaphone. And then here is another really good example. These are all rows of fringe. I've only trimmed 2. I've got plaid in my heart, and then that is foam under my star. So my star is 3-dimensional. So, and it's just as easy as trimming those. So here's my heart that's filled with those shapes. And then you would just cut those rows. Now you could cut with your scissors. You could cut with your seam ripper if you'd like. That's perfectly fine. Under these rows, it cuts really easy as well. And so, again, it's just entirely up to you. And you can also cut with dime stitch ripper, which I have a video to show you. So, and look, here's our little flower thing. Now, those look really cute, even just like they are. I would be perfectly happy leaving them like that. But if you want them to fringe, then cut your bobbin. Now, look at my bobbin. I can't particularly tell where the white is because it's kind of changes as it goes around, but that's okay. Even if you cut the colored thread, it's going to still hold together because of that anchoring stitch there on the front. So, and I'm just putting my scissors under there, cutting, and then when we go to the front, I usually just use the end of my scissors or something that's kind of pointed, your fingernail, and just pull that to the top. So look at that. Now, it was cute before, but how cute is that? Now, the foam, if you haven't ever done foam, it's really easy to do. You just stitch through it. There's nothing special. Just stitch through it, and then it just rips away. And now my leaves there are actually elevated. So, right? Cool. What do you think? Isn't that awesome? Gosh, I love all these techniques. Here's my llama. Look at his hair. And I even added, or his fur, I even added fringe around the saddle there and at the little neckline. So really cute and easy to do, right? So I just love that. And then here's an example here where I've combined a lot of these. So I've got Mylar. I've got my, this is the varsity stitch, plaid, fringe, I have foam, and then I've got my ombre text there. So isn't that adorable? That's cute. All of this was made in Special FX. These are shapes that are built into the library. This is my True Type text and True Type text. So isn't that fun? So make sure you check it out. So let's answer a couple more questions. I'll show you one more thing over there. And then we have to reveal our whatchamacallit, on the house design. So what am I thinking? So I'm looking for my PowerPoint here. Let me flip over to that. So that was our software. There's our PowerPoint. So now on the fringe, if you have Dime Stitch Ripper and you have to cut a lot of fringe, look at this. The Stitch Ripper is meant for taking out stitches, but if you just cut your bobbin thread on a fringe design, then it really can make some quick work. So whenever I have to do a lot of fringe cutting, I usually use my Stitch Ripper from Dime to cut those. And it's just an electronic ripper. You turn it on, push your blade against it. It cuts your bobbin thread just in one press. And then from the front, you can see I do the same thing. I just kind of scrape it with the ends of my scissors there, and it kind of pulls it up. So super easy, right? Love that. Okay, let's see if we have any questions, and then we'll see one more thing before we reveal the on the house design. So, and then Mary Hipskin says, how many designs are in FX? Oh my goodness, Mary, you have asked a question that stumped me. There's thousands of built-in designs. I want to say there's a little over 1,000 actual embroidery designs, and those embroidery designs, some of them have the specialty techniques. You can apply your specialty techniques, but you can stitch them as is. You actually can stitch them just as a regular embroidery design as you want it to be. And then there's like, I want to say like 650 or so of the shapes that I used from the heart, but there's all kinds of different shapes. But you can bring in your own shapes. Like we said, bring in your own design, but the own design may take a little more effort. If you have questions, find me over there on our Facebook group. I'll be happy to answer. So, and then Laura, I assume you're talking about resizing fringe. The only fringe that I would resize is there's a fringe in there that's just a straight row of fringe, and you can stretch it longer, but don't make the fringe overall larger, because these are already kind of at your max stitch length. Like, not every machine will stitch past like 8-9 millimeters, so they're already kind of there. If you make them larger, your machine may not stitch them, and so the only one is really that one that's a rectangle. You can stretch it longer, because then the satin stitches stay the same. You're just making more fringe by stretching it. So that's a really good question. So, and there's like lots of comments, which I love, but if I do miss your question, ask it again, maybe put a few question marks in front of it. And I'm happy to answer that. Sometimes it's hard to kind of pick them out of all of the comments. So, and then Patty LaCroix says, could you apply fringe to a knit shirt? Absolutely. You can put fringe on knit. I will tell you that if you're doing those little small elements, you probably won't see any issue. The rows of fringe, I would maybe do an extra layer of stabilizer, because those long satin stitches, they kind of pull in because they don't have any underlay or anything, because you're going to cut them and make them fray. But absolutely, I would always say, regardless of what you're doing, test. Patty, give it a test before you jump off onto your last shirt that you want to stitch on. So does the foam tool automatically cap the ends? Yes, it does. That's a great question. And I'll show you that whenever I go back over there as well. So foam designs need caps to hold the foam in, and it does automatically cap those in. So, and this says, Debbie says, I'm late. Can I watch this from the beginning later? Yes, you can. Go to our YouTube channel and you certainly can rewatch this. So, hello, can you change a design that you bought and make it fringe? Well, with designs that you bought, you're really wanting to add fringe elements. So fringe is not really a conversion like the others, but it depends on the design, Lily. You could add those fringe elements if you need to make an outline around something and you want to add fringe that way, you could do it that way. So I feel like, where there's a will, there's a way. It just may take an extra step if you bought the design, because it's requires just a little bit different kind of effort in the software. So does Special FX work with Toolshed? You have to have another bigger program? Nope. Special FX is a standalone. You don't have to purchase anything else for it to work. So another really good question. And then Laura says, I mean the shape on the chenille. Oh yes, you can make the chenille as big as you want, but I would resize the shape, Laura, and then apply your chenille, because if you resize it after you add the chenille, what it's going to do is it's going to resize, and then there'll be more space between your rows. But make it big first, and then it will fill it with the distance that you set. So, but you absolutely can, resize to make it as large as you want. So really good question. Okay, let me show you one more thing over there, and then we will reveal our our on the house design. Okay, so for the embossing needs two different designs. You need a frame and something in the middle. So I'm just going to use a letter here and the heart. I'm going to make it bigger. So auto embossing means that it is going to add the stitch between the D and the heart to make it emboss around it. And that way you've got that puffed up look in the letter. I'm going to make my heart smaller just so it doesn't take as long to fill in that area. And then you just click the emboss. You tell it if you want, you know, an inner steel, an outer steel, and then which type of motif you want. And it just does the work for you. Look at that. Isn't that so easy? And you can have this satin stitch with or without. You can have it be a run stitch. You know, really it's whatever you prefer. You can also use the built-in borders. These are another great option. So, and you can put even a design in the middle of it. So like designs that are really good for embossing, you can either delete some elements or you could use these that are single color designs, and I'm going to resize that. And so if I select everything and center that and then click on the embossing, and now I don't want the still stitch because I already have these decorative stitches and maybe I want a different motif. And then just give it a minute to generate and it does the work for you. So isn't that super cute? And then usually embossing is all a solid color, so I just make it one color. So isn't that awesome? And now for the foam needs to be applied to a satin stitch. So let me open up here to another workspace. So this is the one that you'd want to apply to a satin stitch. So like these little ends on the carrot there, we could make these stitches be foam. So if you select them, you could also filter for satin stitches and then click on the foam option and it does it for you. And now foam doesn't look completely different at first glance, but when you put foam, you don't want these ends to be open because the foam will stick out. So we add what's called caps. And so if we watch this stitch, you'll see that we have a cap there that's going to hold it in, and that stitches first before the satin stitch on the top stitches. So satin stitches can be turned into the foam satin applique or still stitches. You can also convert your true type text to a satin stitch. So let me show you one really quick. So if you're converting your text to satin, I would go with kind of a narrower kind of text, and then choose the satin option over here. Let me zoom out so we can actually see it. So there's my text. Okay. And then right now it says artwork. I can flip that to say satin and it actually will make a satin text. And then I can right mouse click and break up that text. And then now I can apply my foam to it. So now I have a font that is a foam font with special effects. And so you'd put your foam down. I will tell you, be very careful of these skinny areas. This probably is not the best one to choose. You want a really wide satin so that your foam really does fill in that area underneath. So what do you guys think? So if you've got questions, ask me again. I don't want to miss any of those. So make sure you ask that over in the chat. And then the software that I'm talking about is our Special FX software, and that is our special program for today. And we do have that on special over on our dzgns.com. But please, please, please also check with your local dealer that sells dime product, because they most likely carry this and can get it for you, and they're an avenue for you to learn as well. So, and then Joyce Leary says, are these special effects available in PEP? So these special effects you can manually create in PEP, but the one-click do it where you don't have to think is only in Special FX. But if you know how to digitize Fringe, you can digitize Fringe in PEP. You can digitize Plaid in PEP. You can digitize Chenille, but those one-click options are only in the Special FX program. So really good question, because we have lots of software. Can you use any of the fonts with foam and the caps will be applied? Yes, you can use use any of your true type fonts. There's also built-in foam fonts that you certainly can use too. And there's not certain fonts. It just does it. I would just recommend Sue to choose a bold satin font. If you have really skinny areas, it'll still stitch over the foam, but you just won't get as much lift. You'll wonder if there's even foam under there. It won't look like it as much. So, and then BJ says, hey, BJ. So BJ's here with me in Florida. So she said, this true type text, the only type text that you can use for that. Yes, you don't want to, you could, no, I don't think you could try it, but I haven't tried it. So your built-in fonts that are in your software, you certainly could type in text and apply the foam to that possibly. I actually haven't tried it, BJ. That's actually a really good question, and I'll have to play around it and see. But my intuition tells me that it's not going to do it at first because it's of type text. But if you try to break it up like I did the true type text, then I think you might be able to apply it after you break it up with the built-in. So, but give it a try. I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on that. And so if you've tried it and played with it, let us know. And then Lulu R70 says, to see many black and white designs, are those specific way for this software? They're actually, a lot of the black and white ones are foam designs, but they make really good embossed designs because they the space within the design will allow the nap to peek through. So I would use them, mostly they're foam or either embossing designs, but you also could apply them. Oh, and I failed to show that, the prism technique where you could apply and have multiple colors to one. So the prism is just an icon click and it'll allow you to change multiple colors. So you can apply that and then you've got a multicolor design even though it's in one color. So cool, right? Okay, so I think I've talked enough and I'm way over time. And so just a reminder, I was using Embroidery Special FX software. Check it out on our website. We've got tutorials. You can view it. You can also try it. If you download our Embroidery Toolshed, you can try a trial version, play it with it, see what it's like. So take advantage of it. It's a really fun a fun tool. And speaking of free things like a free trial, we also have a free design for you. And so if you're unfamiliar with our On the House is a program where we create an embroidery design and we share a new one every week with you on our Thursday Between Friends. Usually Eileen's here to share that. And it's free to you over on our dzgns.com website. Make sure you share your project. If you stitch anything with any dime software, any thread, any stabilizer, share with us. We'd love to see, and then we can share what all of you guys have been doing. So use these hashtags, dime sew along, On the House, or exquisite thread, and we can locate those designs. Now, we have a video reel of what you guys have been stitching with your free On the House design. So let's take a look and see what you guys have been up to. How cute, right? And I saw some plaid things in there. I saw some fun designs with variegated as well. And so this week, our cute little free design is this adorable lamb. So this little baby lamb is a beautiful fill design. And to get this look, blending these thread colors, this is where it really is helpful to have a broad color palette of thread, because just slight variations in some of those colors really give it that look. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, he's so cute. So make sure you download your On the House design and take advantage of that free embroidery design. And let us know what you stitched with it. So next week on Between Friends, Eileen will be back, and she always has something fun planned for you guys. So make sure that you check her out next Thursday, Between Friends, same time, same place here, and she will love to see you. So don't forget to take advantage of the special FX software. It's over on our site. If you go to dzgns.com, you can search and locate it and get that special pricing. It does come with 3 PDF tutorials to help you get started and a 30-minute private tutoring session, which is a lesson with one of our educators. So take advantage. It's a great deal. Also check your local dealer. You can also find all of our dime product and software at your local dime dealer. So, all right, guys, until we have another event or another Between Friends, I'm going to say bye for now, and thank you all for coming.